So you may have noticed, but the Module 23 Mythic gear is getting a bit of a change. Now all of these bonuses that this Mythic gear is going to give is all still open for change. I assume they're just messing around and waiting for our feedback. And right now, just skimming through this, some of the gear, in my opinion, has been made actually a little worse than it was before. For example, we now have the tactful leathers of the Dragon Hunter, which is essentially a copy and paste of the previous ribcage from Avernus. So this will be the new chase item, completely devaluing the ribcage from Avernus hunts. This, in my opinion, is very sad, and I would prefer the bonus on this to be reverted back to giving bonus combat advantage and bonus accuracy, rather than now just copy and pasting of giving critical strike and critical severity. Other than that, we can just quickly skim through these pieces. This headpiece, whenever you deal combat advantage, you gain those defensive stats, and then this headpiece giving you extra power up to 7% when against one enemy. The sharp jacket changed to giving bonus critical severity and awareness, giving you up to 5 stacks of that, so that's 7.5% critical severity. Really not going to compete with like the ribcage, like what's the point of that? Arms, you can see there, whenever you get healed you gain some recharge speed, pretty useless. And then these more arms, basically a copy and paste of what we've had before, of like the spiked defender van braces. You gain damage resistance stacks, and whenever you're hit they get converted to actual damage. And then the boots, you can see, changed to decreasing critical avoidance but increasing your damage by 5%. That's still the same. And same with these boots, basically again a copy and paste from the hunt gear, giving that extra 7.5 thousand power. Otherwise, the legendary shirt and pants don't seem to have changed at all, neither with any of the rings. And otherwise, we really need some decent gear here for the next module hunts, rather than some of this just copy and paste. It was pretty unique having a new ribcage upcoming with accuracy and combat advantage, and would create a lot more build diversity in what stats you will then need to cap out on your character. If we're using a ribcage for a big boost to accuracy and combat advantage, then we can use other sources of crit strike and critical severity and so on. And then healers, of course, will still want to use like the Bone Devil's ribcage, because it would give that crit and crit severity. Maybe that's what they're trying to go for, since then this mythic one will also be still appealing for healers. You can go and have a look on Aster's blog, there'll be a link in the description below, and give your feedback on this mythic gear. And he's made a document to exactly show what the gear bonuses were before and after the recent update. And then you can go analyze them, give your opinions on these changes, whether you think they're good or bad. In my opinion, this ribcage, now called the tactful leathers, should indeed give what the sharp jacket did before, which is the accuracy and combat advantage, instead of just copy and pasting the new ribcage and essentially making it entirely redundant to run your Avernus hunts anymore. Other than that, there are some big changes to the Masterwork gear. Now, unfortunately, I can't view any of it right now. Hopefully, I'll be able to do that in the future, but you can read through all the patch notes here. Some of the Masterwork gear pieces are going to be pretty much best in slot. They are introducing, you Mastercrafters will be pretty welcome to that, these boots for leather working, which are going to be best for healers, giving your outgoing healing of 7,500, but only when your health's above 50%. When it's below that, you get an action point gain, which can be, again, still really good for healers. And then for armor smithing, you get a helmet, really good for tanks, giving 7,500 awareness. And then if your health is below, then you'll gain stamina regen, which is pretty neat. But other than that, I've gone and made a teeny little document here, since I can't actually show you the tooltips of the gear themselves. But you can see for DPS, a decent headpiece would be this one here, giving you 7,500 critical strike. I would still recommend running with your Garistro horns instead though, because that can give up to 10% crit strike. You have some armor here, no way gonna compete with the ribcage, but it will give you 7,500 power. You have some arms, which is a very good choice here if we switch, let's say, to our Ion Stone of Radiance and we lose the critical severity from our Owlbear Cub. Then instead of using, let's say, the Wrist Guards of Participation for 7,500 power, we would use these new Masterworks to give you that 7,500 critical severity. That would be very good there, and it's probably going to be the best in slot arms. And then for boots, you could run with these boots to increase your power by 7,500. 7,500. But everybody will probably use the combat advantage boots instead, the Wasteland Wanderers, or these boots with the Forest Guardian ones giving 7,500 combat advantage. As for then healers, you could use that breastplate giving the 7,500 power, but still the current ribcage is going to beat that if you can keep those procced. Otherwise, arms with critical severity for healers also very good, much better in my opinion than those risk guards of participation, because as a healer you're not attacking too often. Keeping those stacks up isn't as easy, and depending what your companion you're using, you can jig around those stats, and these arms can be definitely best in slot for a healer. For the feet, again, we have those new waders giving that outgoing healing, but alternatively you could use like these Greaves of the Light Guard that we'd have on, let's say, our healer build, which are essentially from your tier 3 hunt. Pretty hard to obtain, but now you'll be able to get them from Masterworks giving 7,500 power. Again, another best in slot boots for healers. Otherwise, we do have again the really good headpiece for tanks giving 7,500 awareness. But again, you'll want to make sure you're balancing your stats. And hopefully I can go and obtain some of this gear. I can update some of my builds and I can show you whether or not those gear pieces are best in slot or not. But what I can say is definitely this arms piece would be best in slot when we get the Ion Stone of Radiance to get that critical severity up. And then for healers, the arms for the crit severity is also really good. And then the waders for outgoing healing is really good, or using the feet to get your power up as well is really good. And then for tanks, this one here. So we definitely have at least one piece for each of the roles, which is going to be best in slot from Master Crafting, which is definitely good news to you Master Crafters, as you'll be obtaining quite a lot of money through that. Some decent profits, and they've even gone and improved the drop rates on those certain items that were dropping from Vault of Stars. I believe the whiskers come from the first boss, the snowflake from the second, and the shard from the last boss, and they have a chance to drop upon killing them. And what I've just gone through with the gear updates, that was pretty much it there. Additionally, they are changing daily edge from the ring to give you up to 6% damage. Still, in my opinion, it's nowhere going to be near best in slot, competing with the Red Eyes Glare and then a Band of Air. And healers will be delighted to know that this glowing restoration ring, instead of giving accuracy and combat advantage, it will give the same stats, but instead of accuracy, outgoing healing, and instead of combat advantage, critical strike. And it will have that bonus there of Survivor's Gift, giving a maximum of 5% outgoing healing, I guess, when your hit points are full. And otherwise, they've finally come to a decision what they're doing with the Watler's present. And in my opinion, they've done a good job with this. We can see on the live server right now, Watler there is giving currently 3.8% movement speed and 3.8% deflect. And on the preview server where we're going to be getting this patch today, we can see Watler is being changed to now essentially give back that full amount of deflect, 7.5%, but have an additional effect of giving 10% more damage in the Day of the Dungeon Master maps. So I'm assuming this will include the zone itself, along with all of these event queues. So that's pretty good to run as a DPS character as well, but generally you're not going to really want to worry about having competitive damage in those areas, but it will help a little bit. And if you really want that edge over your teammates completing those dungeons as quickly as possible, then sure, here is an option to give you additional damage bonus along with a bit of survivability. And otherwise, there's been some further fixes with the Bard so that some of its powers won't cause visual effects to disappear. And I made a short video back when showing how using one of its at-will powers would cause your red area targeted on you to essentially disappear, so it makes it look like you don't have the red area. Otherwise, with the event, the Day of the Dungeon Master, you should now correctly be able to enter the Baradon in zone with all of your characters. So again, hopefully this has been somewhat insightful, you guys. Again, apologies I couldn't show you overall the different gear pieces from Master Crafting. Still working on getting my hands on those. So again, I'd like to give a massive thank you to all of my channel members for helping me keep my channel going. And if I presented this well, consider leaving the video a like. And if you're new around here, consider subscribing. We'll see you guys around. Goodbye for now.